Good evening. So you see the map behind me, isn't it? Is it a controversial map? Just as we're preparing for the show in the afternoon, then news broke. They said government wants to sell ACHIMOTA Forest. This is not the first time we've heard that, have we? What is ACHIMOTA Forest? Where is it? Who does it belong to? Does it belong to government? What kind of activity takes place there? What about forest conservation? What does it mean? We are happy to have the lands minister, whose response was very, very quick. He quickly organized a press conference in his office and spoke about it. But tonight, we have the opportunity to ask him questions so that we can understand what's happening. So what is behind me is the ACHIMOTA Forest land design. Where you see ACHIMOTA Golf Club, there's ACHIMOTA School. This evening, the minister told the press that even GIMPA was part of it. So that's the land before you. And then later tonight, after the minister has taken leave of us, we have other things to discuss. In sports, the Ghana Football Association has handed down the heaviest yet ban for a club. Old traditional club, Ashanti Goldfields, have been demoted to the second tier of the Ghana Premier League. Why did that happen? It happened because the GFA came to the conclusion after investigations that a match between Goldfields and a team called Inter-Allies was fixed. The story is that the match was fixed so that it will end in a 5-1 scoreline in favor of Goldfields. It's not clear why 5-1, but at that time, the other team, Inter-Allies, had already been relegated from the Premiership. Goldfields were in. We're not so sure whether Goldfields were looking for the 5 goals to take a certain position on goal aggregate or to have an individual score many goals on that occasion so that he will be the goal king for the season. But Ibrahim Zebula will give us the details. Now, further details are that one of the players, one of the conspirators, broke off ranks from the conspiracy and decided to mess up the conspiracy. So at the time that it was, instead of the game being 5-1, he scored a deliberate own goal to make it 5-2. Video evidence that we'll show you tonight indicates that the own goal was quite deliberate. So all of that form part of the GFA's investigation. Ibrahim Zebula will be here to tell us about it. And then later on, we will be doing some analysis about, are you a citizen of Ghana and do you hold allegiance to Ghana? Or are you a citizen of Ghana and the United States, but you hold allegiance only to the United States? The question will be coming to the Supreme Court very soon, where they will need to determine the relationship between the use of the words allegiance and the application of citizenship. It's all about the Ascent North, and the arguments are coming back and forth relating to whether or not members of parliament should be part of those citizens that are restricted to a single Ghanaian citizenship in order to operate in the office of member of parliament. People are saying that in the list provided in Article 8 of the Constitution, members of parliament are not listed. But should members of parliament owe the highest allegiance to the republic? Many people think yes. We'll deal with that, looking at the law and looking at the 2 positions that have been taken, all of that coming tonight. And then when we have time, we will open phone lines for you to tell us your e-levy experience. E-levy has now, is 3 weeks old. And so we want people to tell us by Zoom and by phone what they think about e-levy. Right now, without much ado, let me go back to the table and welcome the Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Member of Parliament for Damango constituency, Honorable Adom Jinapor Samuel. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Paul.
It turned out to be a busy afternoon for you, but your response was very quick. Now, tell us, what's the history of this land? Let's begin with that.
Well, so thank you very much, Paul, and let me say a very good evening to your cherished viewers. And you're right, I've had to hold a press conference this afternoon, a press conference I did not anticipate when I walked into the office this morning. But from nowhere, I began to receive a barrage of calls about claims that the president, myself and his government intend to sell the ACHIMOTA Forest. I must be honest with you, initially I parried it off because I found it as outrageous as it comes. But as you can imagine, it took a life of its own. And therefore we had to respond to it and to set the record straight. So your question is apt. What is the history? In 1921, the then colonial government acquired a parcel of land for purposes of building the ACHIMOTA School.
ACHIMOTA School?
Yes. And then in 1927, they acquired another parcel of land as an extension of the ACHIMOTA School. And then in 1930, specifically by Order 31 of a CAP, they designated the 1927 acquisition as a forest reserve. And in fact, they qualified the 1927 acquisition as a forest plantation which is to be used as fuel wood for the Achimota school.
Oh, I see.
Yes, so the 1927 acquisition, which was in 1930 designated as a forest reserve, in the view of the colonial government, the Gold Coast government at the time, was to be used as a woodlock plantation which will be harvested to serve, to produce fuel for the Achimota school, for bakery, for cooking, and so on and so forth. Now, so it remained as that. The size of that acquisition, the acquisition of 1927, was 479 hectares. 479 hectares. The 1921 acquisition, compensation was paid for the 1921 acquisition, but compensation was not paid for the 1927 acquisition.
21, who received the compensation?
The Owu family.
Owu family?
Yeah, the original owners, the Alodia title owners.
They are the owners of that.
They are the owners. They are the original, the pre-acquisition owners. So the pre-acquisition owners, being the Owu family, received compensation.
So it's family land. It's not stool land.
It's family land.
Okay.
It's family land. Yes,
Right.
it's family land. It's family land. You are right. So the 1921 acquisition, compensation was paid. 1927 compensation was not paid. So this 479 hectares of land is a huge parcel of land. Now, as you know, in the colonial times, when land was acquired for a particular purpose, for example, I can give you two classic examples. The EI, which acquired land for the development of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, that EI encompasses a lot of today's Ghana communities around the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Because they normally
Polygon or Dansoman and all those
they normally will acquire a huge parcel of land. The University of Ghana acquisition walks all the way into some parts of East Legon, North Legon, and so on and so forth. It is the same for the Achimota Forest acquisition, the acquisition of 1927.
Which was for the forest reserve?
Yes, which was for the forest reserve.
So 21 was for Achimota School?
Correct.
27 forest reserve?
That is correct.
To serve Achimota School?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then...
You talked about 1930?
Yeah, the 1927 was an acquisition as an extension of the Achimota School. But in 1930, the colonial government classified or designated the 1927 acquisition, which was supposed to be an extension, as a forest reserve.
Okay.
To be used as a woodlock plantation to provide fuel for the Achimota School.
So the 27 acquisition, the size of hectares, is the same narrative in the 30 acquisition?
Yes.
Except that it changes?
Correct. The use changes.
Okay. All right.
So fast forward, the 479 hectares, not all of it was used as a forest reserve. Not all of it. Part of it was used as forest reserve. The part which was used as forest reserve is what we all know as Achimota Forest.
Okay.
So when we say Achimota Forest, we know Achimota Forest. We all Ghanaians, everybody knows Achimota Forest. Achimota Forest is this Achimota Forest we know where people go to pray in, this, that, and that is that forest.
All right.
But there was a good number of land which was acquired in 1927 and which was designated as a forest reserve in 1930, specifically by Order 31, but which all of it was not used as a forest reserve, which is now called the Achimota Forest.
Okay.
And then in the meantime, in 1961, President Nkrumah's government designated portions of the part which was not used as Achimota Forest as a place to be used for the construction of Gimpa.
Today's Gimpa as we know it?
Today's Gimpa as we know it.
Okay.
So Gimpa actually falls within the 1927 acquisition. Yes.
But it was not part of the
forest
designation for forest reserve.
Forest reserve.
Okay.
And then the Forestry Commission headquarters itself is part of the 1927 acquisition. Then the Earthquake Monitoring Center, what they call the Seismic Center, is part of the 1927 acquisition. The Forestry Commission accommodation facilities forms part of the 1927 acquisition. And then there have also been a lot of private encroachment in this other area which doesn't form part of what we know as Achimota Forest, but forms part of the 1927 broader acquisition, the 479 hectares acquisition. So the Owu family, given that they had not been paid compensation for the 1927 acquisition, began to agitate and petition that the first of all, they were not paid compensation. Second of all, the original intendment for which the land was acquired had not been used for its original purpose. And you know the implications of that, even the Constitution.
Under the Constitution. And the original purpose being what? Forest?
Forest reserve.
Okay.
Yes, and then
which
you have...
is 1930.
Yes, correct.
But you say that not all of it was designated for forest. So that part which was not designated for forest, including Gimpa, including forestry, maybe Achimota police station as we know it today, was the old family concerned about that? Is that what they meant by not having been used for its original purpose?
So let me explain. The 1927 acquisition, the 479 hectares, all of it was designated in 1930 as a forest reserve.
All?
Okay. But not all of it was planted into a forest reserve, if you want. Not all of it got planted, got developed into a forest reserve.
Okay, so
into a forest.
Forest has to be developed.
Yes.
Planting trees.
Yeah, planting
rapidly,
trees. Yeah, exactly.
Like that. Okay.
As we know it, as we know Achimota Forest.
Okay.
So when you go outside Achimota, you don't see trees, you see buildings.
Yes.
So that part, even though it forms part of the 1927 acquisition, which all of it was designated in 1930 as a forest reserve, those parts were not developed into a forest.
Okay. Okay, we get it.
Yeah.
So now the old family's concern was you did not use it for the purpose. Which was forest.
Yeah. Two grounds. First, that you did not pay us compensation. Second, that you did not use it for the original intended purpose for which the land was acquired. And of course, you know the constitutional provision relating to not using, first of all, related to compensation, and second of all, relating to not using the land acquired for its original purpose.
You're referring to Article 20, isn't it?
I should think so.
Yeah, I'll look.
Okay. Now, Paul, so petitions upon petitions were lodged by the old family. The first one was lodged in 2007 to President J. Kufuor. President Kufuor then set up a committee to look into the matter. And the committee came to the conclusion that the petition or the request or the claim of the old family was legitimate. And therefore, on 24th November 2008, President Kufuor's minister executed an agreement with the old family for the release of the peripheral portions of the Achimota Forest to the old family in lieu of compensation. Then
how much hectares was it? How much acres was it? This compensation you're talking about?
Well, I don't have it here. Okay. But on 24th...
Okay, but the principle established that their claim was legitimate.
Yes.
And that the president set up a committee and they actually executed an instrument.
Yes.
Okay, to create what? The obligation of government to pay them.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
In lieu of compensation. Then in 2011, the Wu family submitted another petition to the then Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Mike Allen Hammer, for the grant of portions of the forest reserve. The minister constituted a committee chaired by the then chairman chaired by the then chairman, who doubled as the chief executive officer of the Forestry Commission, Mr. Samuel Afaredate, to inquire into the legitimacy of the request and its impact on the forest reserve. The committee, after its investigation, concluded that the request of the Wu family was legitimate as far back as 2011. And then President Mahama came into office. And on 5th September 2013, the then President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, gave executive approval for the conversion of the forest reserve, the ACHIMOTA Forest Reserve, into an ecotourism park, and to release the peripheral portions of the forest reserve, the subject matter of our conversation, to the old family, in accordance with the recommendations of their Afaredate committee. So in 2013, President Mahama and his government, rightly in my view, and I support the decision that President Mahama took, to grant the portions of the land which had not been used as a forest to the old family in 2013. And then, pursuant to the said executive approval, the Forestry Commission, acting on behalf of the then President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, 3 leases executed in September 2013 granted these portions of the forest reserve to the old family for a term of 99 years. A term of 99 years. The family then registered the land in its name and granted sub-leases to other private developers with the consent of the Forestry Commission. So, the executive approval having been given that the peripheral portions of the Achimota Forest be granted to the old family, the government then proceeded to get the Forestry Commission to grant a lease, because as you know, forest reserves are vested in the Forestry Commission. They are the title owners. To grant a lease to the Owu family, and the lease was registered in the name of the Owu family, which is the subject matter we are discussing today. Okay, so the Owu family then gets this lease granted to them, registered in their name, and as you know, by law, they would have acquired a legal interest in the land, because a lease is a contract inter partes. So it was a strict enforceable contract between the Owu family and the government of Ghana. So in fact, in ordinary transactions, they didn't need anything more than I have done or than the government has done. They would have just registered a lease with the Lands Commission and proceed to get title. They didn't need anything more. But I'll tell you why I had to intervene as Minister for Lands. I'm saying that in a normal course of land transaction, when you are granted a lease, you just proceed to the Lands Commission, the land title registry of the Lands Commission, and you plot your lease, you go through the motions, and you are given title, and whose title is indefeasible.
But if you say you had to intervene, then you jump the story. Is there a problem? Why didn't
I will tell you why we had to intervene. And I'll tell you why EI 144 came into being, and then the brouhaha and everything else, you know, and the distortions as well.
All right,
now,
so tell us.
So after the grant of the lease, okay, because the 1930, in fact, let me give you the specific, it's by Order 31 of 1930, dated July 17th, 1930, Cap 157, which constituted the land acquired in 1927 as a forest reserve for the purposes of fuel wood plantation for ACHIMOTA School. So because of this Cap 157, which legally designated that whole 479 hectares as a forest reserve, even though the part which doesn't form part of the ACHIMOTA forest as we all know it or as currently constituted, forms part of the whole 479 acres which Cap 157 designates as a forest reserve, until and unless you amend Cap 157 to de-gazette this portion as no longer being a forest reserve, the Owu family cannot have absolute or full title to the land. So they petitioned the government to request, and given this whole background, to request for the Cap 157 to be amended to reflect the fact that they've been given a lease, the portion of the land does not form part of ACHIMOTA forest as currently constituted, and therefore it will cease to be a forest reserve so called, even though it's not a forest. I mean, really, that part of the...
Okay, so let's understand. It's getting very complicated, but let's try and understand it. So Owu family owned the land. Colonial authority takes it, says that this land will be designated as forest reserve. Okay, so many years come, 1992 constitution comes, says where a land is taken from the compulsorily acquired from the owners and is not used for the purpose, it should revert to the owners. So Owu family now want to invoke this constitutional provision, and then in 2007 they begin the process of petitioning. They come to the point where President Mahama agrees that the claim they are making, that the portions of the land that has not been used for forestry revert to them. They were not paid compensation for the second acquisition, and they're also claiming the land back. They get the land back. Government gives them the land back. However, because the document covering the land says that it is to be used for forest, they cannot proceed to gain title over it because all forest lands are vested in the Forestry Commission and all that. So government must then come in to seek to, as it were, undo or deconstruct the 1930 Act, which said everything here is forest, so that the part that has been given to Owu family can be accessed.
Absolutely. This is exactly what it is. Yeah, that you've cast it. And of course, so let me
give them the land under President Mahama, but the same government, they have to come back to government and say, you need to change the earlier law so that we can
to give legal effect, so that they can have absolute and full title. But you see, Paul, what it is also is that, so you then have EI 144, and for me that's what settles the matter, and the matter before us, or the concern and the anxiety and the allegations and the agitations, all of it boiled down to the singular issue that the Achimota forest is being sold.
Yes.
Or that the Achimota forest is being compromised.
Yes.
Now, there are two instruments in my hands which, for me, establish beyond reasonable doubt that the Achimota forest is not being sold, is not being compromised. That, on the contrary, the Achimota forest is being preserved, and the plan is actually to develop the Achimota forest into a true forest space for Accra, in the likes of Hyde Park of London, Central Park of New York, and so on and so forth, which will serve Accra well, and which will serve the Ghanaian people well, and make Achimota Forest a better forest reserve. And these are the two instruments. You have EI 144, which is titled Executive Instrument, Forestization of Forest Reserve Instrument 2022. And this is the EI which amends the 1930 provision to declassify the peripheral portions of the Achimota Forest as a forest reserve, to give the Owu family people title. And this is the EI. And interestingly, it's very interesting.
And this signed by President Akufo-Addo?
Myself.
Okay.
And you have paragraph 1 of this EI 144, which is the land specified in the schedule to this instrument shall cease to be a forest reserve on the first day of May 2022, which is the peripheral portion. Then you come to paragraph 3, where we insisted on putting this provision with the intendment of preserving the Achimota forest, because we didn't want any situation where the Achimota forest can be compromised even through the back door, which is why we insisted. And this took a lot of debate and negotiations between the parties, but government insisted that this provision ought to be inserted into EI 144, which is the EI which is going to give comfort to the Owu family. And that EI, Paul, is very instructive, and it states, it's actually titled Protection of the Ecological Integrity of an Adjoining Forest Reserve.
This paragraph 3 of the
Paragraph 3. Paragraph 3.1 says, despite paragraph 1, a person shall not A, take possession of, or B, carry out any physical development on the land specified in the schedule without the prior approval of the minister, in this case the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, acting on the recommendation of the Forestry Commission. 2, the minister shall not approve any development on the land specified in the schedule unless the minister is satisfied that the development A is in accordance with the master plan developed by the District Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority and approved by the minister, and B, does not, with emphasis, does not adversely affect the ecological integrity of an adjoining forest reserve. Does not adversely affect the ecological integrity of an adjoining forest reserve. Then so what is that forest reserve we are talking about? In other words, even whilst we have, pursuant to paragraph 1 of EI 144, granted the peripheral portions of the Achimota forest to the Owu family, we have inserted this clause 3, that 1, they can't take possession of it, 2, they can't put up any physical infrastructure on it, unless the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, acting on the recommendation of the Forestry Commission, is satisfied that the physical infrastructure they are going to put on it will not compromise the Achimota forest. So that if the Owu family people grant leases to people, and somebody says, I'm going to build a factory on the lease, that will generate so much noise. You can imagine that all the birds in the Achimota forest will leave.
So that will compromise the forest. So something like that will be disallowed.
Will be disallowed. That will compromise the ecological integrity of the Achimota forest. If somebody wanted to put up a mercury processing factory, and the mercury can seep into Achimota forest, and some of the trees will then begin to die, we will say no. So whatever infrastructure we put even on this land, which has been granted to them, because we want to protect our Achimota forest and preserve the ecological integrity of Achimota forest, we inserted clause 3 that whatever building they are going to put there, whatever development, first of all, the land use and spatial planning, which is town and country planning, must satisfy that it is in conformity with the plan of the area. Number 2, the Forestry Commission must interrogate the architectural designs and the building that is going to be put there to be satisfied that that building will not compromise the ecological integrity of the Achimota forest. Paul, it doesn't end there. Just a second. Look, when we amended the CAP 157, the 1930 promulgation, when we amended it, In fact, in my office, there was a big debate among the lawyers as to what other step we take. And the Attorney General's office, of course.
What other step you take about what?
Some took the view that once you, and I don't particularly disagree with them, once you amended the Cap 157 1930 promulgation and you had a schedule, and the schedule is what you have declassified as a forest reserve, the remainder automatically remains a forest reserve. But out
yes,
of but that's not an erroneous legal position to take. That's not erroneous.
But if you say this is not forest reserve, the remainder is forest reserve.
But Paul, guess what? Out of the abundance of caution, and because we wanted to be 100% certain that the Achimota forest is cast in iron, and that it's not compromised, that nobody can ever compromise the integrity of the Achimota forest, we went out of our way to promulgate EI 154, Executive Instrument 154, which is titled Forest Achimota Firewood Plantation Forest Reserve Amendment Instrument 2022. And please, it's not a long EI. Just let me read it verbatim. And it says, quote, whereas under Section 2 of the Forest Act 1927, Cap 157, the President may constitute an area of land as a forest reserve. Whereas under the Forest Achimota Firewood Plantation Forest Reserve Order 1930, Order number 31 of 1930, issued pursuant to Section 2 of the Forest Act 1927, Cap 157, the government constituted a parcel of land containing an approximate area of 1,185 acres or 479 hectares as a forest reserve. Whereas following a petition submitted to the office of the President, the then President John Dramani Mahama on 5th September 2013 gave executive approval for the conversion of a portion of the forest reserve into an ecotourism facility and the release of the peripheral portions of the forest reserve which have been adversely impacted by human activities to the Owu family, the owners of the land, before the acquisition of the land for use as a forest reserve. Whereas the President of the Republic, now President Akufo-Addo, is satisfied that the remaining portion of the land specified in the schedule should remain as a forest reserve. And whereas the President of the Republic is satisfied that the ecological integrity of the land specified in the schedule should be protected. Now therefore, in exercise of the power conferred on the President by Section 2 of the Forest Act 1927, Cap 157, this instrument is made this 21st day of April 2022. Declaration of land remaining as forest reserve. 1. The land specified in the schedule to this instrument is declared to remain as a forest reserve. That's the Achimota forest. Protection of the ecological integrity of land remaining as forest reserve. 2. A person shall not carry out any physical development on any adjoining land that is likely to adversely affect the ecological integrity of the land specified in the schedule. So EI 154 is actually an overkill to ensure that the Achimota forest is protected and its ecological integrity is protected. But what will interest you, what is so instructive, Paul, is that for some reason, I don't know, for whatever reason, some individuals rather chose to put out EI 144 and then they shelved EI 154. And it's EI 154 which actually clearly affirms that the Achimota forest is preserved and that it's not being sold, it's not being compromised in any form or shape. So these are the bare facts. Nothing more, nothing less.
I see. That's interesting. So this allegation of Achimota forest being sold is coming out of the
EI 144,
the declassification of Cap 30.
Yes, but it was people. But
that was done to secure the Owu's family's interest.
Exactly. But people actually got agitated because they didn't have the benefit of EI 154. So if you saw just EI 144, Forest Cessation of Forest Reserve Instrument 2022, and what actually alarmed the population the most was paragraph 1. The land specified in the schedule to this instrument shall cease to be a forest reserve on first day of May 2022. So that schedule is Achimota Forest. In this
shall cease to be a forest reserve in its entirety.
But that is the erroneous interpretation and mischievous interpretation they put out there, that schedule is Achimota Forest. It will cease to be a forest is there from first day of May 2020. And so a lot of the Facebook posts I saw from 1st May 2022, Achimota Forest, no more a forest.
Yeah, but is that not what it says?
That's not what it says.
No, what you read says that.
No, it says that in respect of the peripheral portions of Achimota Forest, the part that is not...
Can you read it again?
So it says the land specified in the schedule to this instrument shall cease to be a forest reserve.
Oh, the land specified.
Yes, so that is the schedule.
So you need to check the schedule.
The schedule
to see which land is being referred
absolutely.
to.
That's not Achimota Forest. Then when you come to EI 154, you then come and you find that the land specified in the schedule, that's Achimota Forest schedule, to this instrument is declared to, that's what the framers and the drafters use the language, is declared to remain. Because it's already a forest reserve, to remain as a forest reserve. So anyway,
so it's much ado about nothing.
Well, that can come from my lips, you know.
Well, I mean, so what what the point I'm making then is that if people had the benefit of both instruments, they would have understood it. But it's quite elaborate. So you are saying people put out this instrument or read the first part without perhaps properly comprehending the concept of land specified and schedule.
Well, you see, for me, in the manner that the information was put out, okay, and the interpretation which was put to it, for a good number of the people who felt genuinely agitated and alarmed, I don't really begrudge them, and I don't fault them in any way. I think that is good for our governance system. It's good for our democracy.
Yeah, for the inquiry.
Yeah, that people get concerned, people raise the alarm, and people get agitated that we're not going to permit you to sell
because of the conservation.
Yes, to sell a treasured property of this nature of the nation. I mean, for me, all is well and good. Of course, for those who began the mischief and the propaganda, and who wanted to, like it happens in many cases, score political points and so on and so forth. That one, I don't worry myself about it. That is, if you want, the nature of our politics. We have to live with it. But for a good number of very senior, decent statesmen and citizens of our country reached out to me, very concerned, genuinely concerned. I had to take my time to be, explaining to them and assuring them that there's no way President Akufo-Addo will compromise the Achimota. A president who is rather spent a lot of money in reforesting the Achimota Forest. The Achimota Forest, when we came into office, was rendered to shrubs. There were no trees in the Achimota Forest. Fly over it. I've flown over it 3 or 5 times. And the forest itself, the name forest, I'm telling you, is bastardized. You don't have a proper forest in the Achimota Forest. We've started making efforts to plant trees. We spent millions of Ghana cedis to plant trees in the Achimota Forest. In last year's Green Ghana Day, we mobilized the diplomatic community to go there to plant trees. President J.J. Rawlings' foundation, sometime last year, I joined them and we planted a lot of trees there. And this year's Green Ghana Day, Achimota Forest is a big target where we are going to plant all kinds of wood species in the Achimota Forest to turn it into the true forest that it ought to be. It is not, as we speak now. It's made up of a lot of shrubs. It's totally degraded. The president who is done afforestation programs and increased our forest cover more than we've ever done since independence. I have the statistics. I can give it to you. He will be the last person to tamper with Achimota Forest. And sell Achimota Forest for what? I mean, which president, in the greatest of respect, in his proper thinking, will sell a property like that? He has to rather develop it, make it better. And please, we need more of Achimota Forest, actually. I think we need more. We don't have enough of it. Any proper city of its worth, and I hope and believe that working together we take Accra to that point. Your river bodies in the city, a proper city anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I was talking about it.
Everywhere.
Nigeria.
Everywhere you have a proper
Abidjan.
You have a river in the city.
Every city in the world.
And then you have
what is the Kole, but
yes, it's not working. Yeah. But I'm saying, and then you have the parks, you have the proper parks, the forest parks. So we can never do that. We'll never do that. And that's part of public service. I'm very relieved and happy that we've got the opportunity to explain the issues, and it looks like the population seems to be assimilating it quite well.
Do you have text messages of people on this one? Okay, let's hear them all over. Let's begin with you, Matilda. What are people saying?
All right. From Farouk Tema, Honorable Samuel Jinapor's swift response to the propaganda and deceitful stunts being perpetrated by some members of the NDC leadership and some media houses is great. I must commend Honorable Jinapor's commitment to duty and love to serve. Jeff Abdallah Kasim, incoming Nasara coordinator, Greater Accra Region, sends regards. From Yaobafo Anderson, patiently waiting for the touchscreen analysis. From Solomon Yunian, thanks. I'm watching you live from Amatamin. And from Nana Makwe, Japan, the first Paul, you are looking fabulous.
From Kofi Meki, he says, sad we fall for anything on the media. So pathetic to see so-called Facebook intellectuals being fooled with propaganda. Thanks, Minister. This is from Lincoln Abraham. He says, fact, let OU family also speak and tell us their story. Mahama 2013 approval is surprising, and NDC should bow their head in shame for misleading us right from 2007 through to 2013 and now 2022. Matters should be put to rest. Ebenezer Will says, in fact, I really like his quick response to the lies. How I wish other ministries could emulate it when it comes to communication of the government.
From Martin Lawuza, the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources has really been proactive on the evil agenda of the NDC regarding ACHIMOTA Forest. The NDC's sole motivation for seeking power is to acquire wealth regardless of the consequences. They have shamefully sold some parts of the forest of themselves and estates developers. Also from Record Man. Good evening, Paul. Please interview the OU family as well. Their side of the story will be very important for this discussion. Also, again from Farouk Tema. I hope those who were quick to lambast and dabbled in politics of theatrics to cause disaffection for President Akufo-Addo's government will have the dignity to come and apologize to Ghanaians for lying against Ghana. As a citizen, I demand government discloses all NDC bigwigs who bought part of the ACHIMOTA Forest in 2013 and the ex-President Mahama's leadership.
Okay, this is from Record Man. He says,
let me talk to this senior citizen. Says, good evening. Please, can the Honorable Minister clarify what triggered the promulgation of Executive Instrument 144 and 145? What about introducing a bill to Parliament to legislate the protection of ACHIMOTA Forest instead of relying on an EI? That's from Christian Wager and Christian in Wager Barrier. I don't know whether he's satisfied with the explanation because this text came much earlier. Yes, but you've explained what happened with 144 and 145.
That is a subsidiary legislation.
Yes, but he says that he wants an act of parliament.
No, you don't need an act of parliament. There's an act of parliament already which grants the president the power. To designate through an executive instrument a part of land as forest reserve or not forest reserve. There's that act of power already, which is why I say, in exercise of the power conferred on the President by Section 2 of the Forest Act 1927, Cap 157, and of course Article 11 of the Constitution, all of these provisions are saved. And I, as the Minister for Lands, acting in his name, is the person who executes these instruments.
Okay, Mikhail, what do you have?
Right. From Record Man, he said, Paul, please play Zangalewa for, he mentions a certain journalist. He says, their kind of journalism is a total disaster. God bless you and Honorable Jinapor for swiftly thwarting this shameful propaganda by the NDC and the biased media. Now, this is from Dramani from Damango. He says, good evening to the Honorable Minister. The good people of Damango and Savannah region are proud of you. May the good Lord continue to lift you higher. Now, Kofi Sam says, please, Paul, let the minister mention the past officials who had bought the land because the NDC is about to use it as a propaganda machine for the next election. Now, Alhaji Hamza Pixfam says, good evening, Paul. Please, can you find out from the minister whether the other part of the land is going to be redeveloped by a strategic partner or by government? Because in the press conference of the minister, he kept using words like we are going to redevelop and redesign the place to look like a park in the UK and the US. I want to know whether this is going to be done by government or the strategic partner. And if this is a strategic partner, what is the name of the strategic partner? God help our homeland, Ghana. Okay.
Minister, it says, somebody sends a text that officials have bought lands there. Do you know them?
No.
You don't? It says, and this is going to use propaganda. Okay. But the question he's asked, do you have a strategic partner to develop the parks?
Well, in respect of the ACHIMOTA Forest itself,
yeah.
In 2016, President Mahama's government entered into an agreement with ACHIM Capital, a limited liability company, for the development of the ACHIMOTA Forest into an ecotourism park. Okay. And then the Forestry Commission executed a lease agreement with the company in February 2016, by which 227.84 hectares of the forest reserve was leased to the company to undertake the planned development. So that is a transaction I inherited. Now, over the period, the peripheral portions, which is not part of the forest reserve, the ACHIMOTA Forest Reserve, was kind of commingled with the Aikins Capital's plans with government to develop the ACHIMOTA Forest into an ecotourism park. I took the view that we should decouple them and deal with the old family's parts separately, and then come to interrogate the Aikins Capital's proposal, and which is what we have dealt with. The Aikins Capital's proposal is not something that I have been persuaded yet, so we are not moving forward with it. Because what they are asking for is an ecotourism park, which will mean, almost like a theme park, if you want.
Yes.
And for me, personally, if you allow me to say it, it really will, I'm yet to be convinced. It has a potential of compromising the, is it flora? Is it fauna? Yeah, the trees itself,
We're going to cut trees.
Flora, okay. The flora component of the park. You need to cut trees to build all these, real people for kids to play and so on and so forth. I'm not too sure that's not where I'm looking at. As I said, I'm looking at Hyde Park or Central Park. It's full of trees.
A lot of trees.
Greens. And greens. All you have are small pathways for jogging.
Yes.
And the least you will find in Hyde Park or Central Park is a small coffee bar where you can grab a cup of coffee or you can grab water. But otherwise, it's essentially a forest where you can run through, and benches, there are benches where you can sit and so on and so forth. So that is where my mind is going to. But I should say that it's early days yet. And that's not a decision I will make alone. I think it's a decision that will require stakeholder consultation, a lot of input. Eventually, it has to go to cabinet. And, it's not my decision to make by myself. But for the time being, the ACHIMOTA Forest, as currently constituted, remains intact.
I see. Okay, I think you have some questions. Okay, let's hear you. Then we have to. The minister will take leave of us. Okay, Christabel.
So this is coming from Usu Asamoah. He says, Paul, can you ask the minister to turn his eyes to the Oyarifa Hill, area on the left side of the UN Satobu? We are sitting on the time bomb of an eventual mudslide. Please let us protect that area as a green belt for the Green Mountain and to assist forestall the dangers of flooding in the valley. The area towards Adenta affects environments.
Okay, Amos Noah Madiodu asks, Paul, please tell the minister to please give us an update on Apiache. Apiache.
Yes, that's the village where the explosion occurred. I don't know whether the minister has the latest, because we didn't ask him to.
But first of all, Paul, have you contributed to the fund?
We haven't, as a station. We haven't.
No, yourself.
Individual. Yes, I haven't. I will. I should.
You have to, Paul.
I should. But the roads are being done.
You're standing in Ghanaian society. No, a lot of work has been done with Apiache. So much work. My deputy minister, Honorable Benito Usubio, has done such a yeoman's job. He's been to Apiache back and forth like almost 20 times. He literally lives there, if you want. And he's done an extraordinary job. Our strategy was to deal with the matter in two phases. First of all, to get temporary structures which is fit for purpose for the victims to live in. We've done that. The victims have now been housed, and the bad, awful spectacle that we had where rainfall rendered them homeless and in sanitary conditions and so on and so forth. All of those things have been dealt with, and they now have a place to live in. We acquired property from FGR Mining Company. We've refurbished it to reasonably but reasonably habitable, and they've moved in. Next week, I'm visiting the community myself, and God willing, very soon, the contractor who is going to do the layout and construct the roads minister has been very helpful, very cooperative, very proactive. The contractor is going to move to site in a matter of days or weeks, and the layout has been done, the architectural drawings has been done, the consultants are being selected, and very soon, once the layout is done, the roads are done, the drainage is done, the houses will begin to be built. And God willing, we'll build an Apieti community, a very modern community for the people of Apieti, to the glory of Ghana and to the glory of President Akufo-Addo.
I see.
We have no doubt about that.
I have text here for people saying that this minister is great. He has his head really screwed on properly. Okay, but behind every successful man, there's a woman, isn't it? Minister's wife is here with us. Minister drags his wife to late night interviews, and that's why he's doing so great. Thank you very much, Mrs. Jinapor.
She enjoys to drive me around, you know.
Oh, she drives you around.
Yes.
That's a solid backbone, a solid foundation.
She didn't know my wife was here.
Yeah, young woman, are you listening? Are you seeing how you are watching how to create a man?
Paul, what's the name?
Matilda.
Matilda, don't worry.
Okay, viewers, Minister will take leave of us when he's going. We'll go on the touch screen and explain to you that sports story. But now you have the full story. We promised you that, and now you have the full story. It will all be on social media tomorrow, so that you can read it for yourself. Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Paul, for having me.
And thank you for coming at very short notice.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break right now. What is this?
That's the Ark of Covenant.
The Ark of the Covenant of
Yes.
Elohim. So this is Israel.
Yes.
And this is the Ark.
It's the Ark of the Covenant.
The Ark of the Covenant of Elohim.
Yes.
So this is the Ark here, the gold thing.
Yes.
And the 4 men are carrying it. And the trumpet is being blown.
It's been blown.
And it's going to the house of who? Obed-Edom? Or it's going to the house of the king? Okay, that's interesting. So you a Christian or a Muslim?
I'm a Christian.
I see. Okay.
But my parents are Muslims.
Your parents are Muslims? Then how did you end up as a Christian?
Because of my marital status.
Or your husband
My
is a
husband
Christian?
is a Christian.
So you have practiced Islam before?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
I practiced about 23 years before.
As a Muslim?
Yes.
Before you change to Christianity?
Before I changed to Christianity.
So you don't do the fasting anymore?
Well, I
The
only-
Islamic
Yes,
fasting?
no, I don't.
You don't do it, but you do Christian fasting?
I do Christian fasting.
I see. Why did you decide to change your religion instead of your husband changing his religion, as we know happens?
That's what I wanted for myself.
You were in love with your husband, and so
And I also think is the woman that joins the husband, not the husband that joins the woman. So
Yeah.
that's how I translated it, and so I needed to join my husband. It wasn't easy for me actually, because my family didn't understand why a strong Muslim woman should marry a Christian and even move into Christianity. Marrying a Christian wasn't a problem, because the conclusion was that I was going to remain as a Muslim woman and he would be in his Christianity. But when I gave birth to my firstborn, I had a dream and it was very terrible. So the midnight I woke up and then called my husband to pray. And that was why I decided to become
Okay, welcome back to the show, and thank you very much for your time. Minister is taking leave of us. But for those of us who are football fans, and those of you who are not football fans, you still need to be interested in this. Now, the Ghana Football Association has handed down a ban to Ashanti Goldfields Company, Ashanti Goldfields Football Club, the club that was originally owned by the Obuasi Goldfields Company Limited. Now, the club is being banned and demoted, not just to the next tier of Premiership football, but to the second one. So they are in the third tier now. What is their offense? They are reported to have been involved in match fixing, which is sort of a crime around the world, and match fixing relating to betting. Can you imagine? So the odds were thrown out for the game between Goldfields and Interallies, and the odds said Goldfields was going to win by 5-1. It was a very obscure odds picking. Therefore, if you bet, you make a lot of money. I'm sure those of you who bet understand that. So the odds that Goldfields will win by 5-1 may have been nearly negligible. And so if you put 100 cedis in it or 10 cedis in it, you get a lot of money. Now, the conspirators were the officials and players of alleged conspirators, I should say. The alleged conspirators were officials of Goldfields and Interallies. It is believed and reported that one of the alleged conspirators then got upset one way or the other, and he decided that, look, I'm not going to do this 5-1 thing. So what did he do? During the game, he deliberately scored an own goal to make it 5-2. Can you imagine? And so he sort of spoiled the thing, if you like. And that's how the investigations began, and that's how the information came out, and that's how the GFA has arrived at the ban. But of course, they do have the right of appeal. Let's get the details now from Ibrahim Zebil as I join him on the touchscreen to give us all the details about this very complicated sports story. Ibrahim, it's not very good news, is it?
It's not very good news. It's been news that we have been struggling with betting in the Ghana Premier League. There have been allegations upon allegations, but this one is a clear case where the disciplinary committee have done investigation and have found some little evidence, and that's why they have cracked the whip over here to serve an example to other Premier League players.
So tell us the story.
So this is basically a summary of those who have been banned. 6 months ban goes to Interallies defender Hashim Musa. So this was the one who spoiled the bet by scoring the 2 own goals. He decided that he was going to spoil the bet.
Why has he been banned? Okay, so it was fixed goals he scored.
Yes. So he has been banned because he was told that he shouldn't have taken the law into his own hands, but he should have rather reported it. So by taking the law into, he was supposed to be a 24-month ban like the other players, but because he tried to remedy the situation, his ban was reduced to 6 months. So this Interallies.
No, let's see them. So this Interallies players that played on that day.
These the Interallies
they
players.
Got beaten by 5-2.
Yes, it's actually ended 7-0. Yeah. So this Richmond Lamptey. So he is now a Kumasi.
Say that again. What was the final score of the day?
It was 7-0. It was supposed to be 5-1, but after Ashgold scored the 5 goals, then the guy came and scored 2 own goals in order to spoil it. I was
struggling with this afternoon when we're talking. Okay, yes. So it wasn't 5-2. So the night.
So it ended 7-0. So after they scored the 5, he came to score the 2 goals against to make it 7, and that spoiled the bet. So for example, this Richmond Lamptey, he's a Kumasi Asante Kotoko player now, and he has also been banned for 24 months. And what he did was that, so when the rumors started coming in, when they were going to play the match, that the game had been fixed to 5-1. So he went to the disciplinary committee and he was asked about his side of the story. He said when they got there, some Ashgold player, Seth Owusu, came to him and asked him that have the officials spoken to them about the match, and he didn't understand what he said. He said no. So later he heard that the match had been fixed by 5-1, and he gave a number to one of his officials to call someone to bet on the match for him.
Bet on the match 5-1?
Yes, for him, that it will end 5-1. And that is why he was also found culpable and banned for 24.
Okay, so the final score was 7-0 instead of the 5-1. Okay, so who are these?
So these are the main people who instigated, who started everything. This is the owner and chairman of Ashanti Gold, and this is the president of Ashanti Gold. That's father and son, Kweku Frimpong and Emmanuel Frimpong. So they are the bankrollers of Ashanti Gold now. So Mr. Kweku Frimpong, according to the reports, he placed a call to an official of Interallies and told him that this is what they wanted to do. They wanted to fix the match to end 5-1 so that they could bet on the match, because it was a final Premier League match. Interallies were already relegated, and Ashanti Gold were in the mid-table, and so they had nothing to lose. They were not winning the title, and they were also not going on relegation. So it was a match that had nothing at stake, and so a lot of attention didn't go to that match because cameras were not even taken there. Because in the final day of the Premier League, all the matches are played simultaneously, and the official broadcasters only have few cameras to go to only few venues. So no attention wasn't going on the man. So as he called the man also agreed, and so he told the man that he was going to make someone call him and make some payment to him.
Payment for what?
Payment
for that, yes, to agree on the
yes,
final
to agree
score.
on this, and all this. The disciplinary committee, their prosecutors investigated this and even went for phone records, the phone records of 2 of them, and found out all this. So he told his son, and his son sent an amount of 10,000 Ghana cedis to the inter-allies official. That's according to the report, in tranches of 5,000, 2,000.
By mobile money?
Yes, through a mobile money agent.
Okay.
Yeah, so they took all their mobile money transactions. They went to the telecommunication networks and asked for them, and that's through their investigation found out all this. Meanwhile, when Ashanti Gold were first asked to file in their defense, they mentioned that they have no contact at all with the said inter-allies official. They said they have never had any business with him. But when the phone records and the mobile money records were checked, it was realized that.
So how much money was at stake? Could have been at stake from the betting? Because I was expecting you to say they paid them maybe 100,000, but he said 10,000.
So he paid the man 10,000. He paid the man. Yeah, the report was said that he paid the man 10,000 to help speak to the inter-allies players to play a match of convenience so that they could win. But
so inter-allies players were told you will be losing 5-1.
Yes, they said they should play
so that they lose 5-1.
5-1.
So they were going to score 1 goal.
Yes, they were going to score 1 goal.
Okay.
But they were going to concede 5.
And Goldfields knew that we were going to score 5 and concede 1.
Yes, and most of the Goldfield players knew that, because when they even went to the pitch, some of them were asking the inter-allies players, but not all the inter-allies players were in on that. It was only few of them. So some of them were not aware of it. It's only when they got onto the pitch, then they started hearing chants from the stands that 5-1, 5-1, 5-1. That's according to the investigation that inter-allies had. The inter-allies management had. They said, the players said when they got to the pitch, they started hearing chants of 5-1, 5-1, 5-1. And some of the Ash Gold players were also asking them questions that have your officials spoken to you? So that was when the Hashim Musa in the dressing room spoke to the players and told them that this is what we have heard. And if indeed this is going to happen, I'm telling you that I'm going to score own goal in order to score the bet. And so he was on the bench. And when they started the game and then they started conceding questionable goals, then the coaching staff decided to put him on. And then he came on and scored 2 own goals.
Did the coaching staff know he was coming to spoil the bet?
Yes, they intentionally brought him on to do that, because they were also not in on it.
They were also not in on it.
Yes, they were also not in on it. So according to the report...
So who was going to make the money? Anyone who bet?
Anyone who knew that the scoreline was going to end like that was going to bet. Yes, and according to the report, too, one betting company reported that there were hikes in that particular match, betting on that particular match.
And betting 5-1.
Yes, betting that scoreline. There were a lot of hikes in that particular match. And so it's all form parts of the investigation. But the report didn't speak much. They said they didn't do much of the betting investigation to see who really betted and who won anything.
Yes, to be able to link it to the people who were putting it together. Okay.
They only did
all right.
So this is the Kumasi Asante Kotoko player who gave the number to his official to make someone stake the bet for him.
Okay.
He currently plays for Kumasi Asante Kotoko. So at the end of this season, he will also start suffering the ban. The ban starts from next season.
Okay.
So he will go on a 2. And this Hashim Musa, the player who scored the 2 own goals.
Can we see the goals?
Yes. So the video is if they can put the videos on. So
put a video. Let's. Okay. So there we go. So there we go. We're going to talk about. Okay. So is he in yellow?
Yes, Ashanti Gold are in yellow.
Okay, so
Ashanti Gold are in yellow.
Is that a video of the own goal?
No, that's not the video. This is the video of the first goal.
The first goal.
The first goal.
Okay, so yes. That's goal number 1.
Yes.
The game continues. Is that?
And goal number 2 will come through the penalty spot.
Okay, so but it doesn't look like it. Looks like they are playing well.
You see when the goal starts coming. This is the second goal.
The keeper could have done better.
Yes, this is the second goal. So this all found part of the decision, because the match commissioner's reports indicated that the players didn't play with any competitive edge on that particular day. They didn't play like something was at stake.
The goalkeeper let it in.
Yes,
he definitely let it in. Okay, so
this is the second goal.
So now Inter-Allies have the ball.
Inter-Allies are attacking now.
And so 2-0 at this stage.
At this stage is 2-0.
Okay. The ball comes in there. Okay. Oh,
that's a miss.
He kicked it away.
Yeah.
All right. So still first half.
Yes.
Goldfields are now attacking.
The third goal is going to come to a penalty.
Okay, so they consider the penalty to get the third
penalty
goal.
For the third goal.
Okay, so there we go. And that's the penalty.
That's the penalty.
Okay. So it's an obvious penalty. So it looked like, yes, almost like a genuine penalty, is it?
Yeah, this didn't look much suspicious.
Okay, so he takes the penalty, scores?
Yes.
He scores.
Yes,
okay, so 3-0 at this stage.
3-0.
All right. We're all waiting for the deliberate own goal. And
but the
we'll
fourth goal will also shock you. So this is when he's coming in.
Oh, this is when the
player
guy
who scored the 2 own goal.
Okay.
This is when he was watching by his coach.
All right, so substitution has been effected. Our Goldfields now playing to the other side.
Attacking.
Okay, so we are now in the second half, isn't it?
Yes.
And this is Goldfields home in Obuasi.
Yes, this is Goldfields home.
No, that's not a goal. No, that's
not a goal. It's not a goal.
So at this stage, 3-0, isn't it?
3-0.
And Inter-Allies have the ball now. Oh, they lose the ball just like that. Okay, so let's see what happens.
So this is going to be the fourth goal. Now look at this.
Oh! oh, this one is terrible. The goalkeeper grabs the ball and just literally throws it back to the striker to score. Okay,
yes.
So that's goal number 4. So they still needed goal number 5, and then the one, and then the betting will be okay. All right, so this one is serious. So people see the goalkeeper come, he grabs the ball here, then he gives it back to the guy, and that's okay. He says, so Charlie, just score the goal quickly and stop wasting our time. All right, okay. So at this stage, the betting companies will be panicking on those who are betting for 5-1. Okay, let's see. What's happening here?
So the goalkeeper complained that his boots was the problem. So the boots had to be changed for him.
Oh, I see. Okay, so Goldfield still on 4-0 now, isn't
4-0.
it? No, that's not a goal.
This was missed.
But that could have been a genuine goal if he scored. Okay, so Goldfield's on the attack again. Yes. They get into the box.
This is the goal.
Okay, it's very, very soft. Very soft.
And that is when the own goals.
So that's Goldfield scores.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Goldfield scores goal number 5.
Yes.
Okay.
So now Inter-Allies are supposed to score the other one.
Yes, Inter-Allies to score 1.
Yes.
Then we have the 5-1 conclusion.
5-1. But something interesting will start happening.
Okay, so Inter-Allies restarts the game.
Yes.
And then
the player number 5 will take the ball and then go straight.
Oh, what's happening?
Kick it into his own net.
Oh, he kicks about his own net.
Yes, just to spoil the bet.
Are we going to see the slow motion of that one? Oh, and he brings the ball back.
So interestingly,
so at this stage,
if you watch the video,
so that's the slow motion. That's the not the slow motion.
That's the slow motion.
So they pass. So Inter-Allies are attacking their own goal. Yeah, the guy is attacking. He gets into the box. He's attacking his own goal. A photograph and anybody interpreting a photograph will think he's attacking the opponent's goal.
If you watch the video,
the guy was a goalkeeper. He switched off completely.
If you watch the video, you will find out that this Ashanti Gold player was unhappy with that own goal.
The one complaining.
Yes, he was unhappy. He was very hurt. He was the one who was asking whether the officials had spoken. Now it's 6. So that Ashanti Gold player said to so he was very unhappy with the 6 goal because they wanted a 5 goal.
Okay, are they going to get a 7?
Yes, now the 7th will come. He will score a 7th, and that will also be an own goal.
Okay, so the pass comes to the back.
Yes.
Is that him? What? Okay, so this is Inter-Allies.
That's him.
Oh!
So interesting, after he scored the 2nd goal, then he was substituted again.
Okay, let's come and look at the charges that were preferred against them, and then we'll so count 1.
Count 1. The club was charged for a breach of Article 34(5)(a) of the Ghana Premier League Regulations 2019 for instigating, commanding, and counseling its players to play a fixed match or match of convenience between Ashanti Gold and Inter-Allies. So this was the count 1 against Ashanti Gold, and the count 2 was the club was charged for breach of Article 18(1) of the GFA Disciplinary Code 2019 that the President and Chief Executive Officer made several calls to one Emmanuel Jinapor to assist the club to manipulate the match against Inter-Allies. So the Emmanuel Jinapor is the Inter-Allies official, and the count 3, the club was charged for a breach of Article 34(6)(d) of the GFA Premier League Regulations that both teams did act together with a common purpose to manipulate the match to achieve a desired result, and acts which brought the game of football into disrepute.
Yeah.
So now let's look at the GFA regulations. So these are the interlice charges too.
Okay.
So the Article 34, 5A of the Premier League Regulation 2019 states, any GFA or club official or club or players or participants of a match who instigates, commands, counsels, solicits, procures, or in any manner purposely aids, facilitates, encourages or promotes the playing of a fixed match or a match of convenience involving his club or involving other clubs, the results of which may in one way or the other affect his club, commits a grievous offense, and the offender shall be referred to the disciplinary committee for appropriate sanctions. And Article 34, 5B, for the avoidance of doubt, it shall be a misconduct for any club official or a player, any participants of a match to offer or to attempt to offer either directly or indirectly any consideration whatsoever to. Okay, if that ended, so we'll look at the FIFA Codes of Ethics also on betting. And if you look at Article 26 of the FIFA Codes of Ethics, it talks about involvement with betting, gambling, and similar activities. So persons bound by this code shall be forbidden from participating in, either directly or indirectly, betting, gambling, lotteries, or similar events or transactions related to football matches or competitions and or any related football activity. So any stakeholder of football is prevented from betting in anything at all, to get even close to any betting. If you breach this, Article 26, involvement with betting, gambling, persons bound by this code shall not have any interest, either directly or indirectly, in entities, companies, organizations, etc., that promote, broker, arrange, or conduct betting. Interestingly, Ashanti Gold is sponsored, their main sponsor is a betting company, Betway.
Okay, so Ashanti Gold will now be in the Premier League.
Yes, now they have now been demoted to the Division 2.
And the players, their current players have also been banned.
Have also been banned for 24 months. Others have also been banned for lesser, and others too. Some didn't go, so some players were invited to come for the hearing, and some didn't go at all. Those ones were given a 30-month ban. And the Ashanti Gold owner was given a one, or he was banned for 2 years, and his son, that is Emmanuel, was also banned for 1 year, and also fined 100,000 Ghana cedis. That's the owner of Ashanti Gold, and the son 50,000 Ghana cedis. And both clubs have also been fined 100,000 Ghana cedis each.
That's interesting. Very interesting stories, and I guess that we have text messages on that, do we? Okay, you don't have it. Do you have some text messages? Okay, you do. Okay, and then we will also arrange. Okay, so let's hear the text messages whilst I come and do a presentation of a short story, and then we continue with the show. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Zebila. That's a good presentation. Okay, let's hear the text messages. Christabel, let's hear you.
Okay, so from Daniel Yim, I think these punishments are good signs to start. I'm urging the Ghana Football Association to do more to regain the credibility the GPL deserves in order to attract corporate firms for sponsorship. I used to watch GPL, but not now because of betting allegations. Good job, Paul, and your guys at the studio. Watching you live from Virginia, USA, and also from Emmanuel Jermaine. Kweku Frimpong de Asembeba Ampa. He has now sent Ash Gold FC to Division 2 due to Betway.
Okay. This is from... Yes. So this is from... he doesn't add a name. He says Interlice goalkeeper Dansu Redu Mensah is now a military officer. What would the GFA do to him? And then from Halid Fusenu, he says Kweku Frimpong and Killerman de Asembeba. Now, from Emmanuel Germain, he says they should have demoted them to the Wunche Ndi level. And Osahene replies, Fre Kobo. Yeah, this is it for now.
Can I read?
Yeah.
Do you have any messages?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay, from Jacob Kulibale. Oh, Ghana, they should have done it professional, but not deliberating it this way. Shame on them. And from Gasti Man, in fact, I really like the guy who scored the 2 own goals. Unfortunately, it was too obvious. He cannot be a proper actor. And then finally, this is about the trees from Parker Est. He says some researchers from University of Ghana recently found a tree in the East region that is the biggest and tallest in Africa. Efforts should be made to cultivate several of this tree in the ACHIMOTA forest. There is also the need to create a large pond or mini lake at the heart of the forest to make it more beautiful, and also keep the forest evergreen by watering the grounds during the dry season. Since ACHIMOTA Forest is on a higher ground, a water supply system powered by solar pumps should be constructed to pump rainwater from Jowulu, Christian Village Down, and West Legon. Exciting project. #Zeitgeist.
Okay, Kofi Asante says, so are they saying this is the first time matches have been fixed? Let's stop the pretense and face facts. It's been there all this while. Now from Dr. Babazamo, Master Planner, he says match fixing is part of the reasons Ghana football is regressing. Some referees allow themselves to be used and controlled by football administrators like a gamepad. How can we get sponsors for our league? GFA should wake up from the long slumber. Now, okay, that's it.
All right, so we get some more text messages coming in. We do have a presentation on the allegiance issue. If we're not able to do it, we'll do it next week. But let me refer to this matter. This story has been going around on social media, and I've received a lot of calls from people who are asking me that, did you really say that? You didn't say, what does it mean, and all of that. So I'm going to take the opportunity of the next 5 minutes or so to explain. Now, the story says that host of Metro TV's Good Evening Ghana, Paul Adom Otchere, has claimed that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is the reason why Ghanaians now believe in the word of politicians. Okay, Akufo-Addo is the reason why Ghanaians now trust politicians. So that's a Ghana web story, and I just want to take the opportunity to explain. I guess that I made these statements during a conversation, I believe, on TV3 or so. So let me explain to you why I'm saying that. Okay, and the point I want to make is that when politicians campaigning in 2020 and campaigning in 2024 say something, say they will do something, they will legalize Okada, they will pay university first year university fees, people can associate with it because of what happened in 2017. So I'm going to show you what used to happen and what happened in 2017, and then you can make a decision whether I was right or wrong. Okay, so this is 1992 politicians. From this side of the screen is Kwabena Dako, Professor Edu Boahen, and Edward Mahama, and here you have JJ Rawlings, Dr. Liman, and General Eskin, may he rest in peace. So Dr. Liman, so JJ Rawlings, so Professor Edu Boahen. The rest are still happily with us. Okay, so this is the 1992 set of politicians. Now, in those days, coming from the early politics of the 60s and the 70s and the late 70s, politicians made promises. Some of it were completely ridiculous in parliamentary elections and all that. Sometimes they said, for instance, that they will take the sea to Kumasi and they will take the sea to Tamale and that kind of thing. All of these things were said. It got to a point where people were just laughing at politicians when they made promises. In the 1969 election, therefore, not many promises were made, because by 79, everybody was laughing at politicians. In fact, when Flight Lieutenant Rawlings was struggling with getting Ghana back to constitutional, one of his pet concerns was that these politicians, they will come and they will just make ridiculous promises that they know that they cannot fulfill. And then they will take the people down the line and the alley of deceit. That's what Rawlings used to say in those days when he was struggling with coming back to the constitutional rule. So in 1992, when he ran the first election, he didn't promise anything. And anyone who promised was laughed. Kwabena Dako promised something like Ghanaians will have 1 chicken a day or something like that. People were laughing at him. Professor Edu Boahen didn't promise much. He was fighting the regime. Edward Mahama, the PNC, you couldn't promise. So that was the story of 1992, because by 92, Ghanaians were very upset and angry, actually, with politicians who were coming to campaign and say, I'll do this, I'll do that, and it doesn't happen. Okay, so that took us to 1996. The politicians of 96 were Alhaji Banda, because he was instrumental in creating what they call the Great Alliance, which was the merger between the Nkrumah's PCP and the Dankwa Buziai's NPP. That merger that saw the sitting vice president on the ticket of the opposition party. It was created by Alhaji Asuma Banda, so he was in there. Kenson Akawa, the vice president, was there. Professor J.E.A. Mills was the new entrant. Flight Lieutenant Rawlings was there. J. Kufuor was the big opposition candidate. There again in 96. You dare not promise. In fact, if you promise, people could even beat you up those days. If you're a politician and you come and say, I'll do this, I'll do, just tell, hey, don't come and say I'll do anything. So in 96, there was not much promise. Contest had Alhaji Banda at some point promised that he's going to bring a helicopter to do something. People were laughing at him. It may be part of the reason why the alliance did not win. Because he was talking about if they spend $1 million, we spend $1 million and we'll bring helicopters into Ghana, and people were just saying, please stop that. That was the attitude and mentality of our people around that time. let's move on to the year 2000. The key political actors in 2000 were Alhaji Aliyu Mahama and J. Kufuor on the ticket of the opposition, and so 2000, 2004, yeah. So Professor Mills and Mohammed Mumuni for 2004. This ticket was repeated in 2000 and 2004. The other person missing here is my good friend Ben Kaiser Martin Amidu. He's the one missing here. He's the other person in this one. So, in fact, Ben Kaiser, when he was running in 2000 as Professor Mills' running mate, used to caution people about the promises that the opposition was going to make. That was always the point. The NDC's campaign, especially in 2000, was cautioning people that be careful about the opposition and the promises they are making. They cannot achieve it. They will say all kinds of things and they cannot do. That was the context of Ghanaian political campaigning at the time. In 2000, President Kufuor, actually campaigning as opposition leader, said that I'm not going to promise you anything. And that gave him a lot of credence. That gave Kufuor, because people thought he was honest. People thought he was genuine. He came on the platform and said, yes, I'm the opposition leader, but I'm not going to promise you anything. Vote for me, I'll take Ghana into a different direction from what you are seeing today. And then Kufuor came to power, and then he promised zero tolerance for corruption on day one. He was criticized by the opposition that he promised this, it didn't happen. And in 2007, 2008, the NDC and opposition ramped up a campaign of corruption against Kufuor's administration, referring to his inaugural address where he said there will be zero tolerance for corruption. So this is the image of promises by politicians by the year 2004. Let's move on. Okay, so then comes the other set of politicians. 2008, 2012. Who were the key actors? Dan Lartey, enter Dan Lartey. Remember him, the domestication man. There was Dan Lartey, that's from the left side of your screen. Then there was Pakwesi Indum, who was also very much in the style of 2008. John Dramani Mahama entering the ticket for the first time as a running mate of Professor Mills. And this is Nana Akufo-Addo, Edward Mahama, and Mahama Ayariga. I should have had Mills in this setup. He's the one missing in there. So this was 2008's campaign. Now, 2008's campaign, members of the MPP who were part of the campaign team struggled with Akufo-Addo deciding that, look, I'm going to promise free education. And everybody panicked because they said, you don't promise anything. Just go in the campaign, run it and win it. What are you going to promise free education for? He said, I believe in it. I'm going to promise Ghanaians that if they vote for me and they continue the MPP in administration, we're going to have free education. It was a battle. So if you remember, in the year 2000, it did not come out of the MPP manifesto as it did in 2012. In the year 2008, this free education, Akufo-Addo talked about it. He talked about it on every forum. But in terms of it being a proper manifesto promise, it didn't come out as such. And indeed, when Akufo-Addo lost the 2008 election, some MPP members in the following years of 2009 and 2010 denied that the free SHS was a policy of the party, because the NDC will be teasing them on political programs like they said, you people said you're going to do free education, and some people said, we didn't say we're going to do free education. Then in 2012, let's move it on. Okay, so that's 2012 team as well. Then in 2012, Akufo-Addo, with the better control of the campaign, I believe, then made a formal promise embedded in the manifesto that the MPP government was going to conduct free SHS. People couldn't sort of imagine it. It's confounded some people. How are you going to do? How is free SHS going to work? So I go to Presec, I don't pay school fees. I go to Holy Child, I don't pay school fees. What does that mean? Some people laughed at it. But Akufo-Addo continued to pound it and said that I'm going to do it. So he was kind of identified with free SHS. So the only real political promise that had occurred in the history, the recent history of our country in 92, 96, in 2000, if I ask you, which political promise do you remember? You won't remember any. The one you remember is that Akufo-Addo promised free SHS. And then you will come and remember the 2020 promises, Okada and free university first year education and all of that. Okay, so I'm coming to the point. So this was 2008 and 2012. Let's move to 2016. 2016, of course, the key protagonists, John Dramani Mahama and Nana Akufo-Addo. Nana Akufo-Addo continued and said, hey, I said I will do free SHS. I've been saying it from 2008. I will do it. Okay, people thought, let's give it a try. And then in 2017, free SHS launched. Never mind that it's launched in year one. It's launched and people are surprised. And so the MPP people made songs about it and all of that. It is at that stage that people said, oh, really? The guy said he would do free SHS, so he did it. So then in 2020, President Mahama, who had never promised anything in 2008, 2012, 2016, now promised that I will make Okada free. And people believed it. They believed it because they have seen free SHS being promised, it's been done. President Mahama's campaign said that first-year university education will be free, and people believed it. People voted for President Mahama in 2020 because they believed it. They wouldn't have voted for a promise in 96, in 2000, 2004, because it was bastardized. Politicians' promise was bastardized. But now, a politician promised, they saw that Akufo-Addo promised free SHS, and he did it. He's the only politician who has promised something and done it since 1969. That's the history of our politics. That's the data. So you can challenge me on that, no problem. But the data is there. Check from 1969's campaign, and we have, you know that we have done this. We have looked at all the campaigns. 69, 79, up to 2017. The only promise by a politician in social intervention that I would do it, and he did it. You know that the social interventions occasioned by President Kufuor's government were never promised. President Kufuor didn't promise national health, no. In fact, Edward Mahama of the PNC has been taking credit for the national health insurance because he said he used to talk about it. President Kufuor didn't talk about it. Once he came into government, they organized it and they said they would do it, and they did it. But they didn't promise it. It was Akufo-Addo who said, I will do free SHS, and he did it. For that reason, today, if President Mahama says, okay, somebody has done free SHS in 2024, I'm taking it to free university, I'm telling you, people are going to vote for him because of that. Because now they've seen it happen. That's the point I was making. It's not coming up. Oh, please take me back to the first slide, the very first one. So that's the point I was making here, that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is the reason why Ghanaians now believe the word of politicians. And this is the data to back it. This is the evidence to back it. This is the narrative to back it. So you can make your choice and let us see. I don't know whether text messages are already coming on this one. This is political. Are there? Yeah, it's political and it's charged. So let me start with you, Hajia, first.
Okay, this is from Adam S. Jama. He says, the missing promise of Nana Addo is the double track. Collins Dugbate says, there are other promises like no village or town will lack water or face toilet problems again. Osahini Kofi Mensah says, what about the NDC's one-time payment of health insurance premium by Atamils in 2008?
That's a good example. Stop there. Stop right there. So that's a good example. 2008, recent as 2008, NDC promised one-time premium health. It collapsed. They couldn't do it. So as recent as 2008, and that's why the NDC didn't promise anything in 2012 and 16. Because in fact, when President Mahama was talking about, even today, as President Mahama says he will cancel e-levy, people are referring back to the past and say that, oh, but they promised one time, they didn't do it. That has been the point. NDC promised one-time premium. They did. Professor Mills promised that it was part of the manifesto in 2008. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. So people know that politicians just talk. They promise, they don't do it. Akufo-Addo is the only one that stands away from that in respect of free SHS. Other text messages here.
Oh, please don't listen to your naysayers. They are doing propaganda. Also from Gabriel Yeboah. Paul, need you explain? That's an obvious fact you said. We heard of Savannah tree planting and the Guinea fowl project. What became of them?
Okay, also from Edward Dugbaja. Paul, you don't believe what you are saying. Akufo-Addo promised to protect the public purse, Accra to be the cleanest city in Africa, etc. From Divine Ajiman Lade, do you mean Nana promised just free SHS? And from Joseph... No,
I don't mean Nana promised just free SHS, but I'm saying that it was a major social intervention promise that was delivered. Major one. I'm not saying you want to say that, okay, he delivered free SHS, but he said something and he didn't do it. That's okay, you can say that. But I'm saying that in terms of the statement I made, this is the narrative and the data that backs it. Okay, go on.
From Joseph Garnett, so Kufuor no promise anything?
No, in fact, President Kufuor actually said, and the videos are there, that he's not going to promise anything. He will take Ghana on a different direction from what Ghana has seen with Rawlings. So those who liked what Ghana has seen with Rawlings can stay there. Those who think Ghana needs a different direction must vote for the MPP. That's how President Kufuor rode into power.
Okay, this is from Pastor Kofi Asante. He says, Paul, what Nana Akufo-Addo has done for Ghana is unprecedented. He lists free SHS, one district, one factory, one constituency, one dam, payment of WAEC registration fees for all JHS and SHS students, building of good and quality roads, digitization and digitalization, payment of nurses and teacher training allowance, getting the Ghana card successfully, etc., etc. Nana is the best, and Ghana will never forget Nana Addo ever. Now from Paul, from General Ortega. He says, Paul, I'm surprised at this pedestrian analysis that people did not make. What is the essence of manifestos? Now, from Kweku Abuachi, he says, I will never believe the NDC and incompetent Mr. Mahama on promises. They have no visions. And this is from Oheneba Elijah, the pork chopper's takrade. He says, where is he in the grassroots? Who is despondent? Here is Kennedy Ohene Ejapong, who gives you hope. And
okay, you have some more?
And lastly, it says, Paul, the grassroots are gathering. In some few days ahead of us, we shall come out vociferously and clearly catalog why for us we think going into 2024, the strongest face is Kennedy Ohene Ejapong.
Oh, I see. We will get there. We'll get to that one later. Okay, so this story has ended. Do you have any more messages, our three ladies? Haja, if you have, tell us whilst Kweku gets ready for our next presentation.
Eugene Sean Elliott says, haha, Mahama promised to solve doomsday that had been hurting Ghana since the Rawlings days, and that did not create trust in politicians. Laughable. Ghanaians still remember the promises of Nanado's V, and we all know the lies. Harbour in Cape Coast, bank accounts for all Ghanaians, 350 SHS in 18 months, toll every road to reek in revenue, do away with taxation and rather employ production. Manuel Nana Esiedu says, Apostle Paul, I really didn't understand that statement you made, but I think I do now by the data given.
Okay, all right. We have been discussing something, isn't it? And Kweku has joined me. Good evening. Welcome to the show. It's something that's sensitive and is also very important to all of us Ghanaians, because we're a country now of many people who have migrated to other countries. And if you're a Ghanaian and you are 35 years and above, you definitely have some schoolmates that have migrated, particularly to the United States and to the United Kingdom. You have many schoolmates who have continued their education over there and have remained there for long years. Those who were born in Ghana in the 1950s and 40s, they don't have that kind of experience. They stay, work in Ghana. If they go abroad because the ministry is training them and etc. But the generation that was born from the mid-70s up through the 80s have this experience a great deal. Therefore, we have come to the point where some people who have gone abroad and have worked and want to come back to Ghana and want to come and do politics, one thing or the other, we're knocking on the doors of the 1992 Constitution, because after it was formulated, it did not permit dual citizenship. The 1992 Constitution did not permit dual citizenship. So a conversation began with Ghanaians abroad. Anytime President traveled and he met the Ghanaian community, they always tell him that we want dual citizenship, we want to be part of the Ghana story. So sometime in second term of Flight Lieutenant Rawlings, sometime in 1997 or so, the Constitution was amended to create a dual citizenship. But dual citizens were limited to the kinds of things they can do in Ghana and the kinds of things they cannot do. So since then, we have had a small, sizable amount of different people who have come through political appointments who have had to renounce their other citizenship. The recent government is Charles Dubois, and there's another person. Renouncing citizenship. Charles Dubois.
He renounced, I think, US.
And then Madame, the lady was a deputy minister of finance, was chairman of our board here at Metro. That's Mona Korte. Okay. Yes, Mona Korte also had to renounce her citizenship. We have seen the citizenship question that's come through Parliament so many times. Papa Kwesi Ndum had to deal with it. I believe that eventually he also renounced citizenship. And then came the question about qualifications for members of Parliament. When can one be qualified to be said to be a member of Parliament? The first sad case occurred in the 2008 election when Adamu Sakande, representing the New Patriotic Party and having won the Boku constituency elections, was found to have been a citizen of another country. The matter went to court and the court treated it in a certain way. Adamu Sakande was found guilty of, as it were, deceit of public officer because he filed the forms that he was a Ghanaian only. Now we are dealing with a controversial case of the Asin North MP who has had to step aside away from Parliament, but is now awaiting a decision of the court to see whether something can be reversed. Many lawyers believe that it may not happen, but what we want to do tonight is to take the next 15 minutes to sort of go through this process, and then as Ghanaians we can decide whether the nomenclature must be changed, whether the circumstances must be changed, etc., etc. So let me come straight to you, Kweku. So we're dealing with the case of Richard Kwesi and the Asin North parliamentary seat. That one, is it in limbo or is gone? Allegiance and citizenship. So explain to us, what does the Constitution say? What did the amendments to allow dual citizenship say?
Okay, so the amendments, formally, immediately you acquire the citizenship of another country,
you lose Ghanaian citizenship.
Yes.
So the amendment, which was made in 1996, allowed persons who have acquired citizenship of other countries to also hold citizenships of Ghana. However, there are certain exceptions as to the offices such persons can hold. So such persons cannot be maybe on the public service commission, for instance. Such persons cannot be ministers and other offices as expressly prescribed by the Constitution. However, there is a problem. And the problem is that per a common term of art, if you look at Article 94, which expressly says that one, a person shall not be qualified to be a member of parliament if he owes allegiance to a country other than Ghana. And so there's a debate that allegiance and citizenship are not the same thing, and that if allegiance and citizenship were the same thing, then Article 8, which was the amendment, would have expressly put a member of parliament there, that a member of parliament or an individual who holds another citizenship in addition to that of Ghana would not qualify to be.
So people are trying to get us to say that allegiance here does not mean all citizenship to another country.
Yes.
How then? What are then the ingredients of allegiance?
It's a matter of fact that is determined on a case-by-case basis. And so if you look at the case of Bilson versus Rawlings, for instance, in that case, the court had to inquire as to whether or not Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings was a Ghanaian citizen. They determined that, in fact, by law, he was a Ghanaian citizen. But the court took an excursion to explain what certain positive acts of allegiance were. So swearing an oath to be part of the Air Force, actually going on missions for Ghana, were all positive acts of allegiance. However, in other jurisdictions, there is a semblance of actually comparing citizenship to allegiance. The reason is that citizenship is a question of law and fact, which we can easily determine by face of it. You ask for my Ghana card, I give it to you, I show I'm a Ghanaian citizen. Allegiance, on the other hand, is relatively difficult. And so the Constitution, or people who support the argument that allegiance and citizenship should be the same, basically argue that if citizenship is a fact and allegiance is a notion that is difficult to be proved, then allegiance or citizenship should be the fact that proves allegiance.
Correct. I agree with that position. So because allegiance is sort of allegiance is in computer, I say software.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You really can't tell a person's allegiance by looking at his face.
Yes.
But you can tell a citizenship, and therefore we should isolate citizenship as the single most important ingredient in proving allegiance. Is that not so?
Exactly. But there are other countries actually do same. If you look at the United Kingdom, Britain, Australia, we have Britain, Australia, and Sierra Leone for the purpose of this presentation, but there are more if we would waste time. And so Boris Johnson, for instance, had to denounce his American citizenship in order to even move to parliament or be elected to parliament in the first place. Boris Johnson is an example. Let's look at Australia also. Now, if you look at section 44I of the Australian Constitution, it provides that any person who is under any acknowledgement of allegiance, obedience, or adherence to a foreign power, or is a subject or a citizen, or entitled to the rights or privileges of a subject or citizen of a foreign power, shall be incapable of being chosen or of sitting as a senator or a member of House of Representatives. Now, if you look at the Australian Constitution, you observe that allegiance is mentioned and citizenship is also mentioned, right? So there may be the notion that, well, the Australian Constitution expressly mentioned allegiance. But let's look at how it was interpreted. Justice Brennan, in the case of Sykes versus Cleary, noted that the purpose of Article 44I
in the Australian Constitution,
is to ensure that no candidate, senator, or member of the House of Representatives owes allegiance or obedience to a foreign power or adheres to a foreign power, and to ensure that foreign powers command, and this is very important, foreign powers command no allegiance from or obedience by candidates, senators, and members of the House of Representatives. This is at page 113 of the report, which the case is reported.
But then if you are a citizen of another country, they can command your obedience.
That's it.
Yeah, okay.
So that's the rationale. If I'm a citizen of Ghana, I wouldn't want to say I owe allegiance expressly, but the government of Ghana can command certain things for me.
Yes.
If we are at war,
that's the government to take a COVID vaccine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If we are at war and the government decides to prescribe, we have
conscripts. Yeah, go to war.
I have to, even though I'm a citizen of another country.
Yeah.
And there are many histories replaced with such examples where.
So you think the argument that citizenship should be the proof of allegiance is sound.
Yes, nobody can absolutely prove allegiance on the face of it. But what do we have? It's citizenship. We have to make use of what we have.
Okay, but let's come to the other matter of Ghana's parliament and all of that. The whole timetable of when a determination is made as to when the question is put and when the answer is taken.
Yes.
You see, because the answer is taken at a certain point, you can't take the answer now. So, for instance, Kwesi says that his process to renounce his Canadian citizenship is now complete. And that actually it was completed before the voting on the 7th of December.
Yes.
But by the time that he was filing the form, it was not complete, and that's the reason why he's in the trouble that he finds himself in. Now, the whole point about at which point should this citizenship, if it's about allegiance,
Yes.
at which point should it be taken? Because it means that on the day of voting, Kwesi's allegiance is sound.
Okay.
If it is true that by that time the process of renouncing Canadian citizenship is gone, then it means that on 7 December his allegiance is incontrovertible at the time. Why then, if allegiance is the most important thing that the Constitution says, what's the point then of saying he's not qualified?
So there are two answers. The first answer can be found in Section 18 of the Canadian Constitution, which provides that the citizenship is renounced upon issuance of the certificates and receipt of the applicants. And so that is when so you cannot say that because I have applied.
But he's saying that happened by the time the voting occurred.
Fine, no problem. But you see, then we have to look at the law. We have to look at precedents. So Republic versus High Court's General Jurisdiction ex parte Zenator Rawlings lays down the principle. In this case, what happened was that there were allegations that Zenator Rawlings, who was running for the Kolotikoli seat at the time, was not a registered voter. And because she was not a registered voter, could not be elected as a member of parliament. However, at the time the parties to the suit had sent the matter to court, it was not at the time she was to file officially her documents with the Electoral Commission.
But she was filing for the primaries of the party.
And so the court noted that in this instance, if it is your internal matter, it is your problem. However, once the party chooses her and what she does concerns the Electoral Commission, that is when we use, or that is the time. Immediately the process is set in motion.
Yeah, but Rawlings' issue was not about citizenship. It was about being on the registered voter. Other forms of qualification to members of parliament was not on the electoral roll.
It's a qualification.
It's a qualification. Same with okay, I get it. I get the point. So what's here?
So to recap, that's what Justice Bennett said in that case. To recap in a nutshell, the time when a Ghanaian citizen of 21 years of age can be said not to qualify or not to be qualified to contest for a seat in parliament because he's not a registered voter within the meaning of Article 1A of the 1992 Constitution is when the Electoral Commission, acting under the mandate conferred upon it by Articles 45C and 51, has declared that a public election of a member of parliament be held on a particular date and has also set the period for the filing of nominations by the prospective candidates. That is, and this is the important part, the eligibility criteria under Article 94(1)(a) will become applicable only when the actual electoral process has been set in motion by the Electoral Commission. For it is only then that the time could be imported into the said provision to make it completely viable and enforceable. So when did you file your forms with the Electoral Commission? That is what is relevant. And the rationale behind it is that from the time of filing to election, anything can happen, but we have to ensure that if you become a possible candidate for election to office, then everything about you is correct. Everything about you is
at
checked.
the time the documentation
at
is
the time the documentation, because
and this is well known to all prospective candidates.
Yes,
they don't find out.
They have to, because the
so Honorable Kwesi must have known that
they must have been advised.
Yeah, that this process is going this way.
Yes, because the EC cannot be an appendix to an illegality. If I am not an if I'm not a voter, if I'm not an elected voter, I want to run for MP for this seat, I cannot apply and file the forms. The reason being that in me doing that and the EC knowing, the EC becomes an accomplice with me in breaching the Constitution, which becomes problematic. And so the EC, as a creation of the Constitution, Article 40, cannot be an extension of an illegality as perpetrated by certain individuals, particularly when it breaches the same Constitution that's established the Electoral Commission. That is the rationale.
So you are raising a point against those who are saying that once the EC passed him, you have to blame the EC. That's the point you're making.
Well, the thing
some people are saying that the EC sort of, because they went through a vetting process and they were said to have qualified. But I'm guessing that it will come within the context of the principle when you are going to University of Ghana or any university. They tell you that the documents that you have presented will be taken. If at any time the university finds out that something is wrong with the document, they will withdraw you, and you will lose your certificate even if you have acquired it. And
exactly, because there is so
interesting.
Much. There's so much.
But our people abroad are not happy with that. Our people abroad,
well, if you look at
you may very well end up in Harvard, and then after Harvard you go to Princeton, and then 20 years later your mother calls you and says that the people are asking for you to come and be MP. You come and be MP, and then you haven't. You never know. You never know. When you wear a suit like that, you have political ambitions.
It's
but should we think of changing it to the young people who are looking at themselves as I'm going to get a PhD and come? And the process of this takes that long. An election happens every 4 years, it's not every year. Should we think of changing something?
If you look at the work of Parliament, it mostly happens at the committee stages, and the committee stages means they are privy to certain information that is sensitive, security, public sector spending, and all of those things. If you look at the test as laid down by Justice Brennan, it means that it is possible for another state to compel allegiance from you concerning certain matters that may,
or even extract the allegiance
information.
Extract the allegiance from you. So you think it should remain as it is for the protection of the work that parliamentarians do?
Yes. If you even look at Article 8, which mentions certain commissions that they cannot be dual citizens. If you look at something, you observe that Parliament is the head, that passes all the laws that regulates all these offices. Therefore, if Article 8 says that these offices cannot be held by dual citizens, then on what grounds are we saying that Parliament, which passes...
is there an argument like that dual citizens can be members of Parliament?
That's the whole thing. The allegiance is different from citizenship.
That argument must fall flat. The dual citizen cannot be... Not anywhere. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world, does it?
We show the examples.
Okay. So that's our presentation on this one, because we know the Supreme Court is going to have a look at it. So we are not the Supreme Court. We don't know what the Supreme Court is going to say, but we're just giving you, the viewers, the details, the information around this issue. Let's take a final set of text messages and we'll be done. It's 2 minutes to the top of that, 11 o'clock. Do you have messages for us? Christabel, let me start with you.
From Eduardo Dugbaza. Paul, I don't see anything wrong with Kweson's case. He qualified as a Ghanaian on election dates. It was delayed by COVID-19, as the government is always saying we are in economic mess because of COVID-19. Also from Nana Kutin Amo, one has to swear an oath of allegiance before becoming a citizen of another country. So how can someone say it's different and doesn't matter? Nana Kutin Amo from Delaware. And also from Ali Umar. Paul, if that's the case, then we should go to the Supreme Court for interpretation of the word citizenship and allegiance. Ali Du from the University of Education, Winneba.
Also from Ali Umar, he says, Paul, I only blame Haruna Idrisu and his minority members for the embarrassment inflicted on the Asin North MP, because I think they could have done better by saving the MP from such embarrassment. Kwame Nyankopon says, why should I renounce my Canadian citizenship because of MP? Emmanuel Jermaine says, I see him to be too honest a guy. He can't succeed in Africa politics, especially Ghanaian politics, with honesty.
From Nana Hema Sapon, well done, Paul and your team.
Okay, from Pastor Asante, he says, Lawyer Ajipong is great. He's explained this complicated matter and has made it simple for us. But our parliament should be for only 100% Ghanaians. Now, Mark in the US says, Paul, Papa Kwesi Indum was never a US citizen. He always lived in the US as a Ghanaian. Now, Sir Bright says, Paul, I think that allegiance is grafted upon citizenship, just as the rights of a beneficiary, which constitutes an equitable estate in the property, are grafted onto and not carved out of the legal estate. I believe no one can pay allegiance to a country without being a citizen. Now, from the Afro-Optimist, he says, good evening, Sir Paul. My name is Isaaku Swedru, and I think the subject in question is so historic that the erstwhile colonizers, now neo-colonizers, secured the land for the reservation. Yet I read somewhere that land is the last colonial question. The politicization of what not to be politicized in Ghana, and by extension Africa, is the cause of our misfortunes. We must revisit the rulership of our traditional methods. Now, David from Richard Swatson from Kumasi says, good evening, Paul. I think we should look at these important questions. 1. what's the Canadian definition of allegiance? 2. How did Mr. Kwesi satisfy the renunciation of allegiance to Canada? And what are the evidence to that, and in what timelines? What is the evidence to this point above? Now, Mustafa Wungu says the Electoral Commission should arrange fast so that the people of Asin North will have their new lawmaker. Delaying this matter will delay the development of the people in the constituency. My regards to Honorable Daniel Ni Kwate Titus Glover, incoming national organizer of the NPP. And lastly, Rafat Hussein Gunu from Savlugu says that Paul Adom Otchere is a German political analysis. If I ever consider myself becoming a journalist in my life, I will learn under his feet. Nana Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bamia are promise keepers. That's why we want DMB to lead us to break the 8. Asin North and Savlugu will fall for the NPP soon. From Rafat.
Okay, we have to be leaving it here at the stage. What? Oh, CKJ. There's a book launched for CKJ, the former Ghanaian footballer. We'll put the details on our Facebook page and then you can see it there. When is the event happening? Thursday here in Accra. There will be the launch of a book about the prolific Ghanaian footballer and coach CK Jemfi. On that note, we'll say goodbye. It's been a good Tuesday, and at least we got the issues of ACHIMOTA Reserve. We'll be back on Thursday for another edition of Good Evening Ghana. Thank you very much for your time. We will have the conversation about e-levy on Thursday, where we'll open the phone lines for you to get in and tell us what you think. So if you have any information on that, please gather it. Thursday, we'll come back to that. My name is Adom Otchere. Thanks for watching and good night.